The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Touchstone Electric Fireplaces. Get yours at zerodeadbirds.com. Use promo code TTP for 15% off. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Adam Kasabi, the official realtor of The Process, serving the Delaware beaches at processrealtor.com. And also brought to you by Kinetic Skateboarding. Get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. A very special Father's Day Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Remembering great fathers like Chuck Okafor. As well, Brian Colangelo was on Australian radio for 19 minutes. I listened to that this morning. We'll give you a review. JJ Redick mentioned
do me a favor, what's 19 minutes if you flip it around?
It is 91. It is certainly 91. JJ Redick mentions two Sixers who work as hard as he does. A former Sixers player says Kawhi traveled. We get to our Carl Landry Record Club review of Brian Fallon's Local Honey, and two big guests to celebrate Father's Day. That's right, two fathers. Mike's father and my father, technology willing, will join the Ricky today.
Give me a nightmare.
There are 4 brand new Ricky t-shirts available right now. Go to the t-shirt store section of rightsrickysanchez.com. The first ever Vallone's Deli t-shirt. That one, of course, the maybe fictional, maybe not fictional deli, owned by Joe Vallone and his mother, Doris Fallon. Proceeds for that go to Prevention Point Philly. The first ever Ricky Pride shirt, which I'm sort of embarrassed it took us till now to do a Pride version of the shirt. But it looks really awesome. So thank you, Tanner, for that. And proceeds for that go to the Attic Youth Center in Philly. And then 2 shirts that are based on Sixers Adams food list. That's right. A cantaloupe shirt and a chicken shirt. Really just off-seasoning the shit out of the t-shirts.
Yeah.
I love them all. I thought Tanner did a great job on all of them. Even as a vegan, I think I'll wear the chicken one.
Couldn't be more off-season.
Yep. And then this week, is Wednesday the 25th? Is Wednesday or Thursday the 25th? I can't remember. The 25th, Mike and his partner Patrick Kang script for Brotherly Love will be available. Proceed, it'll be $5 for the PDF. Also comes with art from Abby. Proceeds will go to the Coded by Kids CBK Academy and the Providence Animal Center K9 College, and all funds will be matched by our friends over at Touchstone Electric Fireplaces. So that'll be this week on the 25th. Will be available for 1 week, and then will be delivered right after that 1 week.
Raise a little money for some charities that we love and have a couple laughs.
Yep. Just a couple laughs. And we're looking forward to having Patrick on the pod after the release so we can discuss the script. Mike's writing partner Patrick, who has never appeared on the has he been on the pod maybe in one of your summer league things or never?
I don't think so. I've been in summer league with him, but I don't think he was ever on the podcast. He wrote an article on Liberty Ballers years ago that the Sixers should draft Nick Johnson, who is a undersized 2 guard from Arizona.
Oh, sounds perfect.
And I would have asked, he's on Tony Roten's TBT team right now.
We were not able to ask Tony Roten.
No, couldn't do that.
I think we're going to have Casper Ware on, though. So
that'd be great.
Yeah, he is a TBT. Casper Ware, I'm going to hook that up. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name. I say the name. I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who has not written out his top 20 foods as of yet. That is Mike Levin. Good morning, sir.
I object to it. I like food. They don't need to be ranked.
Wow, you object to the lists.
I object to the concept of a food list.
Wow. Can I tell you? So obviously we've all been figuring out new ways to enjoy ourselves at home. And last night, my wife and I are eating dinner in the backyard. We finish up. She had picked out a movie to watch. And I said, hey, do you want to do anything before we watch the movie? And I swear to God, she goes, can we rank our top 20 foods?
Jesus. She's too far gone. Poisoned her mind.
She's never listened to the podcast, I'm convinced, but she saw the food list and was infuriated, obviously, by Adams, then angered by AU's. So we sat with pen and paper and ranked our top 20 foods. So I have mine.
My God.
Yeah, it's really very sad. So being that we're not going to talk sumo with Sam Kravitz as of yet, we got a suggestion from Daniel from Australia. I wanted to throw this one to you. Good day, Spike and Mike. Had an interesting idea maybe for your review segment that in Australia at the moment, our most famous sport, AFL, has just restarted their season. I don't know if you've seen the sport before, but it's one of the best to watch in my opinion anyways. But yeah, maybe if you guys wanted to review a game or something, I think that would be awesome to get your reactions too. I know ESPN are showing the games, but due to the time difference, it's extremely early for you guys and makes it hard to watch live. If you have any questions about the sport, I'd be happy to answer them. AFL is obviously rugby. So
where's the R?
Well, do they maybe not call it rugby down there?
They call it like rugby league.
Oh, do they? I don't know why it's called the AFL then.
Our most favorite sport. Our most famous sport, 3 undiscernible letters.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be Australian League. Do they maybe call it football or something? Maybe. I don't know. I never even looked it up. Well, we'll get to that. You never know.
There's just no way to know.
Yeah, there's no way to know. Our Apple podcast, the only reason I'm reading this is because you highlighted it on your Instagram. The Apple podcast 5-star review of the week. Good. Yeah. We're at 2,688. This comes from Hollis Thompson. We don't know if it's
the only part that stings.
Yeah. We don't know if it's the real Hollis Thompson, maybe. The subject line, Levin stinks. Levin stinks.
Wow.
Right?
I think you probably pronounced it Levin. I think that's the right interpretation.
Yeah. Okay. Levin stinks. Is Mike Levin comedy writer an oxymoron? This guy is the least funny person I've ever heard, and his limited vocabulary and constant stuttering is so bad. I wonder if his characters stumble through their sentences with constant ums.
Sorry, go back.
I have to read it incorrectly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I wonder if his characters stumble through their sentences with constant ums, likes, uhs, and buts to separate their words in his scripts. It's a shame The Rock Johnson will have his name forever tarnished by having this dorky valley girl on his show. Every show this guy has had a hand in has been a massive failure, but it doesn't stop him from begging for our people to watch his horrendous one season and out shows. His laugh is also the worst. He has the Windex cleaner laugh, and it actually sounds like a 45-year-old woman's chuckle.
Nope.
Women's chuckle.
Thank you. I sound like a collection of 45-year-old women chuckling. I don't think he realized the trial and error got 2 seasons.
Oh, fucking idiot.
So,
what a fucking idiot
wow.
that guy is. Yeah, fucking fool.
No, we appreciate the constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I will take that under advisement and adjust accordingly.
What is a Windex cleaner laugh? I've never heard that before. Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Like squeaky?
I don't know. You don't have a squeaky laugh.
I don't know.
I don't know well, I don't ever really. Do you laugh even?
I guess
you just laughed there. Yeah.
Is that a Windex cleaner?
I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and review the tape.
Who's to say? Also, I do love that everyone calls him The Rock Johnson. That's his full name. That's what we all call him. In person, he demands that we call him that. It's very good.
What would it take for you? Did you listen to the JJ Redick and on Bill Simmons podcast?
No, and it's because I just can't stand listening to Bill.
Okay.
I know it's the opposite for you, but
well, it's both for me at this point.
Sure.
Yeah, we got a tweet from a regular listener, Brian, and he said, "I'm gonna need you guys to listen to JJ Redick on Bill Simmons podcast," and I said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "Please just listen to the first 5 minutes." He mentions 2 of our guys or former guys. So obviously the topic came up. I went and listened to the first 5 minutes. The topic came up almost immediately, brought up by JJ Redick about how hard he has worked in quarantine. And he believes that he's gotten even better during quarantine because he's working so hard. And he was asked by Bill, are there any other players that are like you that just work so hard like you do? And the first two players he brought up were Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. Now I ask you, is it a direct shot at Simmons and Embiid that he mentioned not them and mentioned Harris and Butler? Is that like a sneak diss at all?
Probably. Like end of analysis.
Okay. All right. And then that's all I have.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously it is. I don't think it's I don't think he has a problem with Embiid. I think like there was my bigger question, like the second part of it is, do you think the vets on the team talk about those two separately from them? And I kind of almost think that they do. I kind of almost,
For sure.
Especially because none of the vets have been here for very long, you know, and that it's easier for them to, you know, get along with another guy who's 30 years old and been in the league for 10 years than a 23-year-old. But I just wonder if it's like this thing that they all talk about these two guys, and that I wonder if that happens with every young player who is highly regarded, or if it is specific to them or somewhere in the middle.
I think absolutely it happens, especially like, you know, you think about LeBron coming into the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, Ricky Davis was claiming it was his team, and I think wasn't like Anton Jameson there.
Yep.
It was a weird collection of guys that were not.
Well, Anton Jameson, I don't think was there right away. That was when they tried to get Amari Stoudemire and couldn't, and then they got Anton Jameson, I think. But it was like 3 or 4 years into it.
But there were a bunch of those older guys,
yes,
that were around that were just not going to sort of cede control to this teenager,
right.
even though he was the number one pick. So I think it's just when you've been in the league for long enough, whatever. Now Embiid's been there for long, so I don't know how much shit he gets, but I can see why you'd be reluctant to be like, this guy's a 19-year-old kid or 20-year-old kid, whatever. He doesn't know anything. And so I think it probably happens all around. Like if I was on and I know that this does happen when people kind of just randomly get a show, but if I was on a show where the showrunner was 25 and they were making the decisions for and having to, like, you know, the people that are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s are having in the writer's room that have been there for whatever 20 years are having to defer to this 25-year-old person. I'm sure that, I mean, 100% there'd be grumbling. There would be absolute, like, what the fuck is going on? This is bullshit. Like, talking about them when they're not in the room, all that stuff. And so I'm sure that happens with Embiid and Simmons, because it's like, well, if they took the lead of this thing, if they were, you know, if they should just work out each other's shit, you know, I'm sure all the time. And I think with every team. And because Simmons and Embiid are both not, you know, vocal, you know, grab control of the team leaders, you know, I think it probably happens, you know, an above average amount here.
And then I wanted to play you some audio. Tobias Harris was on with Ernie Johnson, and Ernie Johnson asked him about, thank you to Sixers Reddit, which I check for news, but will not post on because they fucking, too many of them hate me. We were in Indiana and for New Year's Eve for Fly the Process. And I was walking by at the pre-party. I was walking by this group of people, and they were like, "Hey, we're from Sixers Reddit." And I was like, "Nah." They're like, "What?" It's like, "You guys are too mean. Sorry." And I deal with Twitter, and Reddit is too mean for me. But Ernie,
I've never gone on it.
Gone on Sixers Reddit?
No. What's going on there?
Is it
lawless?
Yeah, it's all lawless. The Reddit is lawless, but there are moderators. But the laws are, you're not allowed to promote your own shit. The laws aren't, you can't roast somebody. You know, that's not what the laws are. But it is a good place for, what I found is it's a good place to to, like, it's a good news gathering place because everybody's looking at anything. So I look at it for that, but it is not a great discussion place, as no place on the internet truly is a good discussion place.
Sure.
But I found this 30-second clip of Tobias Harris, who was asked by Ernie Johnson about the Kawhi Leonard shot. And this is what he said.
Take me through your perspective of that shot.
Well, when he got the ball, you know, it's funny about like early in the pandemic, JJ Redick texts me out of nowhere. He says, "You know, Kawhi traveled," and I was like, "It's out of nowhere." He just texted, "You know, Kawhi traveled." So then I went on and I watched. I was like, "He definitely did travel when he caught the ball." But,
there you go. They're still
Absolutely.
thinking about it. Yep.
100%. We
Yep.
said that. I've said that 45 times.
Yeah, he traveled.
He takes it. He grabs it. Goes a few steps, and the clock doesn't start on time. I'm still mad. That's the last playoff game the Sixers have had.
Yeah, maybe ever. You never know.
Could be ever.
Maybe ever. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. The processed pups keep rolling in. I got a new one from Brett in Oakland. 2 processed pups sleeping on the same bed. I love it. Semi, a giant pit mix, and then Savage, a tiny little dog, both sleeping on the Big Barker together. They're great beds. They're the only ones on the market that are engineered by experts to support your dog's joints. They're the only ones that prove to others when they come into your home, hey, I love my dog. It's the only way to prove that you love your dog. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, bigbarker.com/Ricky. Get your Big Barker with the processed pup patch, 2 of them. And I was thinking, Mike, for what's it called? Providence Animal Center is having their Bark in the Park in October. And who knows like how it'll work, whether everyone will be able to be in one place or people will do it virtually, but we'll have a team again and we'll do a t-shirt. And I was thinking for the t-shirt this year, a take off of the names shirt with all the processed pup names on the back rather than the Sixers player names. I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Great.
Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. Big Barker's been a sponsor for a few years now, and they are great folks. Eric's a great guy. It's all a local company. The beds are made here, right here in the Delaware Valley, and it's a really high quality product. You can see if you go to the processed pup section of rightsrickysanchez.com, you can just see how supportive the beds are. It's, you know, most beds, you see a dog on it, it basically sinks to the ground. Who wants to sleep on the floor? Not your dog. Get them a real bed. bigbarker.com/Ricky. There is a 10-year warranty on the bed. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. You try it for a full year. If you don't like it, they will not only refund your money, but they'll pay for the shipping.
And dogs understand that.
Dogs understand that they have a year to like the bed. And they understand what shipping could cost for something that size. And as I said, it's called Big Barker, but they have tiny ones and big ones for any size dog. Big Barker dog beds. Before your dad gets here, which will happen, I think, in about 4 or 5 minutes, technology allowing. Carl Landry Record Club this week it's moved to Sundays now because of our shift, is Brian Fallon's Local Honey. Brian Fallon is the lead singer of the Gaslight Anthem, a band that is really good, has been dormant for a couple of years now. A couple of, I believe, 2 nearly perfect albums from Gaslight Anthem. This is his second solo record. I enjoy the fact that it is 8 songs and about 28 minutes long. I love
like a short album.
Well, it's just like, it allows me to, one of the problems with having every song available to you in the world on your phone is that the commitment to 65 minutes of music from one band makes it sort of mentally harder to do. And though I like to try to do it, for a while iPods were still a thing, I would put 5 albums on my iPod and that was it. So I wasn't taunted by the rest of everything. So I like a good Green Day-esque 30-minute album. This is his solo record. His solo stuff sounds like Gaslight Anthem if it was high, like sort of just mellowed out Gaslight Anthem. I really enjoy everything that Brian Fallon does. I like the first solo record. I really like this one. My two favorite songs are When You're Ready and I Don't Mind, but I like the whole thing. I've never heard you. I don't know if we've talked about them before. I don't know if you're aware of Gaslight Anthem or if you're a fan.
Unaware.
Okay. Brian Fallon's Local Honey.
Thought it was nice. Thought it was raw.
Yes.
I don't know if I have any terms for it. It was very quick. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I thought it was raw in a honest sort of emotional way. I think he is. There's a, like if you've ever listened to, I'm trying to put it in a musical place if you've never listened before, but you probably have never listened to these bands either. If you like Against Me, if you like The Loved Ones, if you like hot water music, it all sort of fits in that same world. And it definitely sounds like Springsteen, just way better. Just imagine if Springsteen had good songs. So I give a thumbs up to Brian Fallon's Local Honey. So thank you for that suggestion. This week is, Devin Gilfillian. And the name of the album, I just picked it because the name of the album looked cool, Black Hole Rainbows, suggested by Ricky listener James. Devin Gilfillian's Black Hole Rainbows. So we have that coming up. You want to do a mailbag question while we wait for your dad?
Sure. When he comes on, it's going to be, I told him he's on the podcast right away. So I'm looking out for him to, it's going to be him in his underwear or something.
The mailbag brought to you by Kinetic Skateboarding. Go to kineticskateboarding.com, get 9.1% off your first order. Some new mesh shorts from Kinetic. Awesome. They look like Kinetic University. It's got like a rooster on it with a big K on its chest. Love the mesh shorts. So mesh champion shorts now at Kinetic. First question. Let's go to the one from Alexandra. Thanks for doing these during the pandemic. Love all the non-basketball related interviews, especially with the Hoagie Hour. Looking forward to maybe having those guys back on. Basketball related question. I was listening to the pod where a listener suggested a female head coach and got to thinking, is there a future of co-ed professional basketball? What do you think? I
don't.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just size wise.
Yeah.
It's just not, it doesn't seem to be possible. But I don't think that means that, men coach women, so women should be able to coach men.
Sure. Yeah, strategy-wise, it's all the same. Yeah, I agree. In normal basketball, the size and physicality of men, it just wouldn't make for a great product. I do think, though, that if there were more sort of horse is a bad game to say, but the skills competition type things, if they could mix it up that way, I think a good way to popularize the WNBA would be to, oh my God. Now, our listeners can definitely see it before he's connected to the audio.
Muted. Still muted.
He's got to unmute himself.
I just press the button on your thing.
There we go.
There we go.
In the Ricky mask.
You got it. No hat, Ricky mask.
There you go.
All right. I was just for your pleasure.
Wait,
that action.
I would like to say this. Mike knows that I have sort of anarchist tendencies toward politics and politicians. It is a shame that this mask thing has become a political thing for everyone. It is literally the easiest and best thing you can do when you're around other people to prevent people from getting the disease. Is literally the easiest and best thing. So
it is so typical, though, that even something as basic as protect yourself, protect other people becomes a thing.
Yeah, everything becomes a thing.
Stupid.
Do you think
But not unexpected.
former Sixers CEO Adam Aaron having to backpedal on saying he doesn't want to get in a political controversy, but then gets into a political controversy about masks inside?
Painful. Like that wouldn't be controversial. Let's put that in.
Well,
there's a big
the shame of it is that unfortunately it would be, but it's the right thing to do. So I'm glad they're doing it, and I'm sorry that they will face some sort of political backlash for not getting your COVID sweat on other people.
Oh, please.
So I wouldn't share my questions with you.
What's his angle?
Mike's dad. Well, okay.
What angle would you like?
Yeah.
I'm sitting outside.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, we're at Uncle Ron and Aunt Anita's, and
Oh, wow.
and so there could be some hot takes because the dogs, they got big dogs. They
There
got
you
two Goldens. So
Well, first of all, happy Father's Day. We haven't talked yet. I woke up and started doing this podcast, so happy Father's Day to you.
Okay. That's usually what you do. Just wake up, get in front of that mic.
Yep.
No, well, it used to be fine. I used to pretend I could still look okay.
Well, thank you for the happy Father's Day. You are certainly you're the last reason that I'm in this position.
The last one.
Wait, what does that even mean?
Well, he has three
last-
older siblings.
Oh, okay. Like literally the last.
Literally the last one.
Well, speaking of his older siblings, I have to ask, were you aware of what an asshole Puff Andy was in his college years?
We've talked about this. Spike, you were the asshole in our house.
So, a freshman and a senior. Really. Yep. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a funny time. We love Syracuse. We love going up to Syracuse. We liked going up to Ithaca. It was a nice ride. Good times.
Well, what are the odds really that I would work with Andy and then Mike and I would have this podcast?
Infinitesimal. It is.
So I think everyone would want to know, Mike as a teenager. Could you tell us what Mike was like as a teenager?
Same.
So he's told enough teenage stories. I mean, even the bowling pod, he gave you some, some 15, 16. Yeah. We were very lucky as parents because all four of them were good. They were good. I mean,
Mel wasn't.
Well, and then of course there's all the stuff you did that we didn't know about or that we didn't admit to knowing. So then there was that. But basically they were really solid kids. And yeah, Mel had her issues, but no, I mean, all good people. And
yeah, come on.
Hey, I had my issues. It was the 60s.
Still do.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, I can explain one issue is that you spent the hour and a half prior to the live Ricky 2 years ago telling everyone in shouting distance who the surprise guest was going to be. Can you?
I thought that was a fait accompli. Anybody there wouldn't be able to tell anybody else. After all, so, social media and phones.
So the story is that we line up. Elton Brand gets announced as general manager of the Sixers. And within 48 hours of that, we line up for Elton Brand to make a surprise appearance, thanks to the Sixers and thanks to Elton, at Live Ricky. Went over really, really well. I was walking through the crowd, and I believe it was one John Wintermute who said to me,
who's very trustworthy. I told him.
Wait. Let's. So he goes to me, hey, don't worry. I know who the special guest is.
There it is.
And I go, what the fuck you mean? Who told you? And I immediately, as we've gone over on the pod, I'm very tense before podcasts. So
I've noticed that.
Yeah. So the idea that someone would tell, and he told me it was you, and I got furious. How many people did you tell?
Very nice. Just a couple.
Told a bunch.
John, another trustworthy, the guy, and I forget his name because I forget everybody's name, but another very trustworthy person. That was
Ron?
it. Ron, that's right, Ron.
Ron Pasheri is also very trustworthy. And
he's also wearing a shirt that said, "It's Elton." Crazy.
We should
look, not a guy that you want to tell secrets to that you don't want to get out.
No,
One time I was in.
I'm an open book.
About 4 years ago, I had to delay my trip back home because I wanted to stay to go to a Beyonce concert. And I was like, don't tell mom because then I'll miss the Sunday brunch or whatever she had planned. So just say I had work or something. And then mom's like, how was the concert?
well,
I guess you found out.
This became a, why aren't they coming in? Why, and if you don't tell me, I mean, that's like a marriage oath thing.
There you go.
Wow.
This is the first time he's admitted to telling her. There you go. So I'm glad I got him on the podcast to finally call it out.
I don't know. I may have confirmed it. She probably knew. Because you're not good at keeping secrets either.
Great.
Your face.
So let me ask you, you're a diehard Ricky listener. You've probably missed very few episodes in its history.
None.
Not one.
Not one.
If you were to say it is a little more one or the other, you had to pick one or the other, how much of it is you enjoy it and how much of it is keeping tabs on Mike?
That's a great question.
That is a good question. And I enjoy it because and I've said this before, it brings me back to the days. I always like to drive the kids around. So people going bowling, I'll take a ride because you sit in the front seat, you're a fly on the wall, and they just talk back there and you hear stuff. And that's the podcast for me, except more adult. Like I get to hear stuff. Stuff comes out. It's fun. Plus I enjoy it. You guys have a nice repartee.
There you go.
It's fun to listen to. People wonder what is wrong with this laughing hyena in the middle of the, Whole Foods aisle that I'm listening to this podcast laughing my head off.
There you go.
You don't listen at like 2x or anything, do you? I just want to make sure you listen at normal speed, right? Okay.
Normal speed, no problem.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
Why did you raise me to be a Sixers fan?
It's no answer to that question. Sixers, Eagles, Phillies, part of the genetic, if they took and did a genome of anyone in our family, there'd be a Philadelphia sports chromosome in there.
Yeah.
So you had no choice.
It would alarm scientists.
Look at your sister's living in Phoenix for the last God knows how many years. Her kids are Philadelphia. They consider themselves it is.
Yeah.
Long suffering. You inherit the misery.
Speaking of misery, the Kawhi shot we were next to each other for, and then I was face down on the ground for a while. Was that the worst moment of Sixers fandom for you in your life?
No. It was because this team is on the up.
Is he frozen completely? Huh?
The Sixers have some Game 7 losses that in the 80s, the 7 Sixers. There was the Sixers in the 60s that lost to Boston. It was painful. It was just painful. Are you guys frozen? I'm not hearing.
It's you. It's you.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, okay. So yeah, there were Game 7 losses at home to Boston. There were other. This was hard, but at least we got to experience it together.
Sure.
Do you think they would have beaten okay, let's say the Kawhi shot doesn't go in, it goes into overtime. This is a long-standing Mike and I disagreement.
Yeah.
Your honest opinion, it goes into overtime.
They win Game 7. They win Game 7.
Well, they have to get past Game 6 first. Hold on.
They win.
Oh, that was Game 7. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they win Game 7, and then what happens in the Milwaukee series?
They go to the finals.
Both wrong.
Oh, no, it's just, I can't, I am a forever optimistic, and especially in retrospect.
Oh, easy to be optimistic in retrospect.
Oh, always. So, yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time. I moved on already this year, although this year couldn't be any stranger.
Sure.
Yeah. How's it been for you? I'm actually just curious. My dad, we'll get to it when my dad comes on, but he's now walking 15 miles a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, wow. He's fucking nuts is why he is. How has it been for you? What's your experience through this been like?
I had 7 weeks of being at home, which was a real preview of retirement. Mm-hmm. And Mike knows this. I was good at it. I was. I'm back to work at this point. It's a very controlled kind of circumstance in the office, but I'm working the same number of hours I did now before. It was tough not playing ball. It still is. That's hard.
Yeah.
Although the rims are back up. You saw that on your walk, Spike. The rims are back up, so I've been able to get out and shoot a little bit, and that's been good. But it's weird.
Usually you play basketball twice a week?
2 games a week, yeah.
2 games a week at age 67?
Yes.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
and what's your game like? Describe for the masses what your game is like.
All right. So if I had a lot more basketball talent and was a foot taller, 8 inches or 9 inches taller, it would be sort of a little bit of Matisse. Working on the outside shot for the last 50 years. But hustle guy, defensive guy. Yeah, that's.
To me, it's more like a Reggie Evans.
Oh goodness, that's different than Matisse.
That's way different.
Yeah.
although you've been on the receiving end of some of the down low action. So
yeah, the elbows are firm and strong. Even when I was a kid, they always have been.
Hey, no free lunch. You got to earn it.
Glenn, we got to talk about one of our sponsors here. So you're gonna have to cool it for a second. Is that all right? All right. We're going to talk about our sponsor, Adam Kasabi, official realtor of the process. One of my friends is looking for a house in Philly, and I mentioned to him about Adam. Look, even though Adam's specializing and he can't sell you a house in Philly, he specializes in Delaware and Delaware beaches. If you have any questions about anything, any refinancing, buying a home, all of that stuff, go to Adam Kasabi because he will be able to hook you up with the right person and give you advice. And especially if you're not buying a home from him, he's got no horse in the race other than making sure that you get the right answer, and then making sure that you're happy. So he's your guy. It's KSEBE. But if you're buying a home, Delaware beaches, we've talked about the advantages of it 100 times. Property taxes down the shore in Jersey, you're talking 10, 15 grand a year. In Delaware, you're talking $500 to $1,000 a year. That's such a massive difference when you are thinking about leasing out the house to renters, for a good part of the year, having them basically pay your mortgage. Think about just $10,000 or $15,000 off the cost of that. And that's what's happening in Delaware. And I actually think it's a way better experience. Next time we talk about Adam, we'll talk about Bethany. We've talked about Rehoboth and Lewis so far. We have I think second week of July, we'll be able to say the name of the Ricky listener who purchased a Lewis house from Adam.
Very exciting.
It is a very exciting name, a very, very exciting name. I prefer Lewis, quaint little town, like basically empty beaches. There's some woods in there. It's like a 15-20 minute drive from Rehoboth. All the where do you buy all the clothes that are on sale? The outlets. Very close to the store, the Rehoboth outlets, all that. And interest rates, by the way, lowered again. There's never going to, if you can afford it, there's never going to be a better time than in the next 6 to 12 months to buy a home. Like never a better time. Get yourself a vacation home in the Delaware beaches. Do it with Adam, a Ricky fan, process truster, good man. 302-864-8643. You can call him or text him. That is 302-864-8643, or email him, adam@processrealtor.com. Back to Glenn. So what is your favorite Mike associated television show so far?
Well, any of the episodes he's written.
Oh, that's cheating.
But it is. And of course, just sitting there trying to figure out what jokes he wrote that he slipped in,
Sure.
There was a. Did you write one of the How I Met Your Mother? Did you get a shot at that?
Not even close.
It was the next show that you got to write an episode.
The Grinder.
Of course, that's the one.
I really enjoyed The Grinder.
The
Grinder I think is a really good show. If is it on? It's got to be online somewhere, right, for people to watch.
It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is.
Okay, Grinder's really fucking good show.
Do you get any green envelopes from any of those episodes in the past?
I only wrote the one episode of The Grinder, co-wrote it.
Right.
And so occasionally you get a green envelope with some 27 cents in residual. Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. But yeah, no, hearing his voice in these is always what's fun.
3 favorite Sixers since the process began.
It's not, I'm saying TJ first, but not necessarily, but you got to put him on. If I got 3, I got him. Robert Covington, you got to love. I mean, he's
a listener. Come on.
He's besides his game, how much better he got, how hard he worked, how much it mattered to him. And, I mean, the process is the process. So Joel, what an interesting
a safe 3.
No, what an interesting guy. I mean, considering the Cameroon and just all of the things that he's overcome. Whenever you read anything about him in high school, it was like he needed to learn how to play, and now literally less than 7-8 years later, he's a force. Hopefully we see him holding the trophy. That is what needs to happen.
I was thinking about Joel and how much we talk about how we think we really know Joel and we don't really know Ben.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, we don't really know, like, Joel has become, I think, less and less known as time has gone on. Like I've never read, he wrote the couple of, what's that website where the athletes write the stuff? Players Tribune things. The second one was basically an advertisement for shoes. But I've never really heard an interview with him or seen an interview with him in the last few years that was really like, I feel like, where he is opening up. And I'm not, that's not to be critical, but I almost think because he's a more emotive, we think we know him better. But I almost think that it's like a red herring or something. Like we don't really know who he is. He knows how to make us think that we do, but not that how he really does. I would really like to know who he is better than I think that we do.
Have him on the pod.
Oh, well, we're trying, man.
He's there.
Yeah. Years of trying. Years and years of trying.
Dad, I have a question. Thoughts on Howard Eskin?
Oh boy, before we have him on. Yeah, right.
So, I grew up probably 15 minutes away, went to the same junior high and high school, a couple of years behind Howard.
Northeast High School.
Northeast High
School.
Yeah.
Northeast High.
And if you're 67, yeah, you'd be 2 years behind him.
Yeah, 2 years behind. And so I knew a lot of people in his class, and he was a known entity then. Howard worked. I mean, the guy, you cannot not give him credit for a lifetime of achievement. He literally established a sports talk radio. Give me 2 names, and one's him. And presence on TV. He has a persona. From what I've heard from my sources, he's really a nice guy and a sweet man. But now that's not his persona. That's not how he became Howard Eskin. So my thoughts are, I don't know him, but I certainly admire what he's done with his life, and it certainly has come from hard work. Hardest working man in the sports entertainment business.
That is crazy that you guys, like, the connections go, okay, so there's me and Andy in college. I don't think I knew that you went to Northeast, or you may have told me and I don't remember. There's me and Andy in college. There's me and Mike now. And then you and my father were in the same high school at the same time. It is pretty fucking crazy.
Is there a chance that you guys ever played basketball together?
It's conceivable. I graduated in 70, so he would have graduated in 68. And that class was 2 years older, so there wasn't a whole lot of contact. I had a lot of contact with people that graduated in 69 and 70, of course. But 68
was... You were probably in the same graduating class as my mom, or 1 year away. Maybe my mom's 3 years behind him.
I just like to imagine there was a basketball game when when Glenn and Howard were on the court together, and I can't imagine Howard plays much defense. And
there we go.
Glenn's all defense. And just going up for a rebound, Howard thinking he's got the ball all to himself, and he just takes an elbow from this underclassman in the fucking eye.
Yes, that would have happened. If it happened, it would have happened that way. He would have not liked me. There would have been words.
There we go.
Has Mike ever said anything on the podcast you wish he hadn't said?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
ton of stuff. And have you said anything that you wish you didn't say? Absolutely. Sex with my mom stuff would have been probably not
that had to be muted.
Particularly beloved.
No. But no, sure, there's always that. But look, this is a free-flowing thing. There's no 7-second delay.
No.
My final question, because I really actually want to avoid the both dads on at the same time thing if we can.
Good thought.
Yeah. Finally, are you a Spike guy or a Mike guy?
Well, and again, you're not getting anything out of me. I'm a Spike and Mike and Spike guy.
Well, I'll take that as a win, actually.
You can. Yes.
Yeah.
He enjoys the podcast in a way that I can't imagine anyone does.
Yeah.
There you go. And it's true. Yes.
Because I would never listen to this podcast. If I wasn't on it, I just wouldn't listen. And he listens to every episode. So I'm
sitting in the front seat of the car, driving. Where do you want to go? And I will take you, and you guys can just sit back there and talk.
There you go.
Now you have some people listening to you by the thousands. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, there
thanks,
he is.
Dad.
Glenn Levin, we appreciate your time. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. I'll call you later.
And I'm surprised he didn't say something. Oh, he's not wearing one of his shirts. But of course, he is wearing one of his shirts. The father of the pod, Sam Hinkie.
You're frozen, but I respect it.
Yeah. We haven't seen you change video in a while, but I'm glad the audio kept.
He has every single shirt.
Well, because not every single shirt. It's most shirts.
A lot of shirts.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the one of the 4 new ones though. I think the Gay Pride one has the color that I'm looking for.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There he is.
All right.
Thank
you guys. I'm supposed to say something nice before I leave. Is that the new thing?
Oh yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love you both, and have a good day. Wish I was there wherever either one of you are, and have a good day. This is called the tidy exit.
Okay.
All right.
There
there he goes. Well, oh no, his iPhone's back.
Wait, it is. And leave. Leave meeting.
I'm gonna start saying "leave meeting" at the end of everything now.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
That's it.
Now oh my goodness, look at this, right on time. Wait, he's got to unmute himself.
Now he's muted, and it's so nice to see him muted. What a treat that is for me.
Yeah. You got to unmute. There he is.
I just turned it on. Yeah, I know how to unmute it. You know what? Can I mute the other people so I don't have to listen?
That sounds good.
No, you cannot. Well, happy Father's Day. We just
happy Father's Day, Howard.
Thanks. It'll be a wonderful day if I don't hear the word PROCES.
There we go.
He comes in always hot right away.
I didn't even want this.
There's no ramp up whatsoever.
Well, so look, I don't want to fucking argue about basketball. I don't even care about basketball anymore. My first question, because you've mentioned on the air, and happy Father's Day. You've mentioned on the air how many miles you're walking now.
Right.
So could you take us in, we talked to Mike's dad about it. Could you take us into what your every day is like, where the miles come, and what you're doing to take up time? Because you're an out and about type guy, and this has prevented a lot of people from being out and about.
Well, yeah. Well, because of the heat, I've tried to now do it in 2 stages, because the middle of the day is really hot. So I try to do it in the morning. I haven't done anything yet this morning, so I'm backed up. So morning, later in the afternoon. So I'll do I'll do it in steps, and then I don't look at the miles once I do steps. But in the morning, I try to do about 14,000 steps.
Which is
So
7
I'm
miles.
averaging, okay. I'm
About 7
averaging,
miles.
okay. I'm averaging about 27 to 28,000 steps now a day. So I did 30,000 last Sunday. So then in the afternoon, I finish it up. I used to drive to the park, which is a little over a half a mile away. Now I just go around the block, walk to the park, do my loops around the park, because there's loops around this soccer field type park. Not many people there. Then I come back and I do more loops around the neighborhood. And then if I haven't gotten to my goal, I only did about 24,500 last night. It was about close to 12 miles.
So now, as you're doing it, are you kicking a can down the road as you're doing it, moving forward?
No, I have a basketball with the picture of Sam Hinkie on it. I just keep on kicking it down the road, and I'm kicking it to Palo Alto. I'm going to see if I can kick it to.
You can get there by now.
Yeah. Well.
So anyway, so that's what, and then the biggest week I did was like 191,000 steps. That was my biggest week. So I'm trying to do between 11 and 12 miles. And sometimes I get to between 13 and 14 miles.
So you figure it's about 20 minutes a mile if you're walking normal pace. What are you doing that entire time? Are you just alone with your thoughts? That seems like, what do you do?
That seems dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I try to connect, and it gives me a chance to talk to people, whether it's locally or around the country, whether it's, players. I had a person from the commissioner's office a couple of weeks ago, baseball commissioner's office, who heard the show and called me, and we discussed about the situation going on there. I know the guy. I've known him for years. He works directly with the commissioner. So I've talked to him. Occasionally I'll talk to players. Occasionally I'll talk to coaches, people locally. I actually, believe it or not, I actually call some of the sponsors of WIP just to see how they're doing, because I become friendly with them and gotten to know them. So I'm interested to see how they're doing in business, and then like real world stuff, not the nonsense that you guys do.
What the fuck is that supposed to? What's that supposed to mean?
This writes to Ricky, whatever his name is. So I do that, and then I listen to WIP, and I see how. I know you guys use the F word. I just can't bring myself to do that sometimes, and to see how bleeped up they are with some of the. What the hell are you talking about? But no, I listen to it, and then if there's something they've said informationally that they're not sure of, I'll either text or call the producer and let them know. But I try to stay busy. You can't do it's basically 3 miles plus or 3 hours plus and not do anything and just think about what's going on, because then you'll drive yourself crazy, because what's going on in sports is basically nothing. You remember Derek Boyko, right?
Mm-hmm. So Derek Boyko used to be in charge of PR for the Eagles, and now he is in charge of PR for the Buffalo Bills. He's from that area, right? He's from Buffalo.
Right. Okay, but here's he oversees the Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, and their minor league hockey team, because they're all owned by the same person. The owner owns all of them. And he lives about 2 miles away, and I haven't even seen him. He lives 2 miles, and he's come home. He's not in Buffalo now. He still has his house here. So try to catch up maybe on some of the things that he's heard about. What the NFL hasn't made any decisions about what's going on with the NFL, what their plans are, what their media plans are, what their camp plans are. So I'm trying to catch up on what's going on.
Always
and then
working.
You see, what's that?
Always working.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to, because I'm interested, like what's going to happen with football season. In camp, there's basically, and I think if I've talked to other PR people, I got to know a lot of the guys around the NFL to find out what they think they're doing. Nobody knows yet. But basically what camp's going to be is one pool reporter as they see it right now, but there's no official word, and one pool camera, and nobody's going to be there other than those two people. So I'm just trying to find out what's going on, how we're going to get in touch with the players. It's obviously going to be a lot of Zoom interviews. So it's all these different things that I'm trying to catch up on. So what am I going to do at the end of July when camp starts? Is there going to be a season? What's going on with college football? I mean, I think Derek texted me, or I texted him and texted some other people. 28 Clemson football players have tested positive for the COVID virus, and what's going on in college, which can kind of lead to what's going on in the pros. And then basketball, by the way, just so you guys know, I had somebody who talked to Brett Brown. Now, Brett would never tell me this. So it was a lot of different things. I didn't get to all of it because I didn't finish the conversation. And the one question to Brett was, do you think your players are going to stay in the bubble? And his response was, no fucking way. So they already know that they're going to go outside the bubble. I don't understand. But it's maybe you guys can debate it if you want. I just don't think they're going to be able to stay within it. Now, you're not supposed to be able to come back, and you have to be quarantined. I got another.
You're doing a whole show here. You're doing a whole show. You fucking ask you one question. We're on like the sixth topic.
Well, I'm just trying to give you guys. I mean,
this is the full picture.
Right.
This is his life.
Well, yeah, but I'm just trying to catch up with what's going on. I mean, do I want to hear about the COVID virus every day? And there's more positive tests, and the lunacy of Trump, and all the things that are going on. And I told my people to not test so much. What? We don't know. We don't want to know if people.
I think I found a common ground between Mike and Howard for the first time ever.
I didn't think I'd get an impression. I like that.
Yeah. So wait, I have a question. So we had Ike on a week and a half ago. First time Ike was ever on, and you and Ike had like a famously contentious relationship when you guys did the show together. And I used to get text messages from Taz, who works at WIP, used to work at YSP. He'd be like, hey, they're fighting again. And I'd be like, leave me alone. But now you guys get along. Like, have you thought about the fact that you guys were so at each other's throats and now like actually get along well? I'm happy about that when I see it.
You know what? I don't think we really wanted to not get along. I don't think that was our intention, but there was things that, and I'll bring up the name of Andy Bloom, who's always remember, who was always nice to me. The problem is he was nice to everybody, and he didn't manage. And I'll give you credit. Other than the morning show, you really don't. You manage everybody. Other than the morning show.
I manage the morning show. I just manage them differently. Everyone has to be managed differently. I manage you differently.
But that's not the way it should be. But it started with. And I liked Ike, and it was kind of cool for him to tell me he knew me before he knew me because he watched the George Michael Sports Machine all the time. And I had a segment on that nationally broadcast show, not the music George Michael, the guy that was in broadcasting. And because I spun records for him and I did a segment on a show. And that's how I had so many people, players and whatever, that saw me on that show. Dave Rigetti, of all people, walks up to me and starts talking. I don't know if he's still the pitching coach of the San Francisco Giants, but whatever. So that was kind of cool that Ike knew me before he knew me, and knew me as a player, and I got along great with Ike. But Ike, when he went into broadcasting, wanted to be the driver rather than the passenger. And you have to have a lead guy, and he's got to be the driver. And I don't know that you would disagree with that, but Andy Bloom told him something different than he told me. Okay, you can be the lead guy 2 days a week, 1 week, 3 days a week, another week, and then with the interviews, I mean, I actually have a method with interviews. I know really where I want to end it, and I know how I want to get to that position and work my way through it. It's, for instance, I'm still debating. I got in touch with O.J. Simpson, and he responded to me. I got in touch with O.J. Simpson. He follows me on Twitter, which is, I don't know why he follows me on Twitter. So
I don't know either. Honestly. Yeah.
Well, so I got a hold of him because I saw again the other night. ESPN did a thing on 1994. The Rangers won a Stanley Cup for the first time in 54 years. Arnold Palmer retired, and OJ and the chase in the Bronco, which, by the way, Ford is bringing the Bronco back on his birthday.
I know.
Which is sick. So anyway, I said, let me see if I can get him on the air. So I sent him a message.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're doing your show again. We were on Ike and now we're on OJ. They are different people.
This is impressive. I mostly just want to hear more criticism of Spike's job.
No, but so anyway, so Andy Bloom said, and then he didn't tell me that, but he told Ike that. And then when we both went into his office, Ike, in the beginning of broadcasting, wanted to be the guy. Ike's, what he does is perfect. It's perfect for what he does. He's 50% a part of it, but he's not the driver. He's, there's an engineer and then there's somebody else. So that's where our biggest problem came from. And then we had issues with that because he rebelled that I was the guy leading the show. I always included him, but it didn't start off well because Andy Bloom didn't lay down some groundwork for what should have been done. But I had no problems with Ike. I mean, I actually thought he was a good player. I was ill-advised, but it's just...
there we go. So you got to take shots.
Well, that's all right. But he understands. And he was stealing money at the end. I tell him he was stealing money when he went to Atlanta. He should have been taken out in handcuffs for stealing money.
So Andy was I'm separating myself from what you said about, I was not there. I didn't know it. Obviously telling you guys different things, if that's what happened, was an issue.
Well, I'll never forget the meeting we had together. And Andy just looked at me. I says, you told me that this is, that you told Ike. And he didn't respond. So that's what, it kind of went too far without getting in there and talking about it. And it's just, but yeah, so I'm cool with Ike. And he knows when I bust his chops, I bust his chops. It's not in any kind of bad way.
Before we continue, we have one more commercial we got to do.
Got to pay the bills, Howard.
Got to pay the bills. Got to pay the Ricky bills.
You mean you guys actually get money for this?
Well, we give away a good portion of it to charity, but we do get money. They pay to advertise. You've seen the live show. I don't remember ever seeing your live show have 3,000 people at it. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
No.
I don't remember that. Touchstone Electric Fireplaces right there in Exton, PA. Touchstone is sponsoring the release of Mike's Brotherly Love script, in which the proceeds will go to the Providence Animal Center and Coded by Kids. Dad, actually, I always talk about the fireplace in the house. And what Touchstone does is they make electric fireplaces where there's no chimney and no ash and no smell, and you don't have to go buy any of that fucking wood or anything.
Wood, I know.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, right? Isn't the real fireplace a pain in the ass?
Yeah, that's why I don't use it anymore. But I had plenty of wood. I cut down 4 trees. I could have kept the wood and let it. It has to sit for a while before, but I don't need the wood.
Yeah.
But no, it just
pain in the ass.
I have a pit in the back that works off of gas.
A fire pit in the back. Yeah. Well, that's not what we're talking about. Though. We're just, can you just confirm that the fireplace was a pain in the ass?
Hey, you opened the door, Spike. Like, you can't blame him for walking through.
For sure. Right. Touchstone Electric Fireplaces.
Yes, Your Honor, you did open the doors. He opened the doors, Your Honor.
You can have a beautiful fireplace in your home without any of the problems of a regular fireplace. No ash, no smell, no cleanup, no dead birds in the chimney. 0 dead birds. Go to zerodeadbirds.com. Use promo code TTP for 15% off. And if you go to zerodeadbirds.com, you can see all the different ways that you can put the Touchstone electric fireplace in your house. Frank from Touchstone told me they've been getting a lot of orders for RVs, because obviously you can't have a regular fireplace in an RV, but if you have a mobile home, you can put the Touchstone electric fireplace right there in the mobile home too. You get the crystal display, the log display, 5 different flame intensities and all different sizes, 3 feet wide to 100 inches wide, easy to install, easy DIY installation. Go to zerodeadbirds.com. If you have any question at all, they've got you. They will take care of whatever question you have, whether it's online chat, whether it's email, whether it's phone, and they're operational. So if you order one, it'll be there in 2 to 3 days, and a sale going on right now too. So don't miss that. Go to zerodeadbirds.com. Use promo code TTP for 15% off. Touchstone Electric Fireplaces. All right.
But I have a question.
Oh boy. Okay.
Will Santa Claus fit down that chimney for the fireplace, or is there no no chimney for that fireplace?
You are, as a Jewish man, a Santa Claus enthusiast. You fucking love Santa Claus, right?
Yes, I do.
What is it about Santa Claus?
I have pictures with Santa Claus when I was a kid. I probably have pictures with you as Santa Claus when you were a kid.
I think you appreciate the show. You respect what Santa Claus does with his business as a businessman yourself. The bit.
Well, I love Santa Claus. And how could you have Christmas without Santa Claus?
There you go.
Really?
He used to dress up as Santa Claus and go over to his friends' homes that had children and visit as Santa Claus. True or false?
True. They never knew who I was. I walked into a Chip Kelly news conference of Santa Claus.
I remember that.
He didn't know at first, and he saw the Rolex watch, and that kind of tipped him off. And then I walked off the field as Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, one game at the Vet with Andy Reid, and he was kind of shocked because nobody stopped me walking off with him. And he still tells this story, and he looked down and he saw the Rolex watch. He said, "If Santa Claus is wearing a Rolex, it must be Howard Eskin." So, but nobody could tell who I was. I went out to, kids and whatever, and I drove down the street, stopped one time, and the guy stopped me and he looked at me. The cop laughed. I told him who I was. I said, "I'm just going to my next house." I said, "I just don't have, Rudolph's not helping me, so I'm just using the car." And so he laughed. He says, "All right, keep on going." But yeah, I love Santa Claus. I still have the costume. I paid a lot of money for that costume.
I think you should start walking in the Santa Claus costume now.
Yes. Can you tell the story? I don't think I've ever asked you this story. So, Mike, in my parents' home, there's a thing hanging up, and it's a newspaper article about when my dad was like, before he was a radio personality, was sitting. So my grandfather used to have courtside seats to the Sixers, and as they changed venues, those seats went back. My uncle has them now. They're like 6 rows behind courtside now. But there was this news article about my father getting into an argument with Earl Monroe. Is that who it
Correct.
was?
That is absolutely 100% correct.
As a fan, can you tell me what happened?
By the way, later I had him on my show at a remote.
I've seen that picture too. I believe I've seen that picture too.
And he laughed about it, and he absolutely remembered it.
So what happened?
Earl Monroe, who played high school basketball in Philadelphia, for those people that don't know the history of the NBA, because most of your people don't know the history of the NBA.
Right, okay.
So don't know the history of the NBA. Earl Monroe, if you go on stages, Pete Maravich, who they don't know, then you Earl Monroe, the way he handled the basketball and the way he moved around, and then it was Julius Erving was the next stage of that. But Earl was a Philadelphia guy and had, as we called him back in the day, rabbit ears. He heard everything. And obviously we were on the first row, and I used to bust his chops. My father busted the chops of the officials. I busted the chops of the players. So I busted his chops. And just at one point, I forget, he must have committed a foul. And I said, what are you screaming about? You committed the foul. Just shut up. So he came walking over to my seat, got right in my face. He said, "What the fuck are you going to do right now? What are you going to do right now?" And I said, "I'm not going to do anything. What are you going to do?" So the security guys had to come over and break us up. And the headline was from the Camden Courier Post, "Even superfan can't help Sixers," because I guess they lost that night. And so it was Earl Monroe, and we got into a face-to-face on the side of the court there, and had to be broken up by security people.
Howard, what sport were you best at as a young man?
Well, it's funny. Which one did I most enjoy? Baseball was probably the one that I most enjoyed, because it was summertime. You didn't have to worry about getting on a basketball court. I didn't like playing in the play. I used to go to a place called Max Myers because the playground near where I grew up really didn't. The playground was in Ronhurst, but Max Myers had a lot of great guys. And then I played Little League ball there, and just it wasn't Little League. It was older than that. But I guess it was baseball. Played multiple positions because you didn't have to worry about getting a court or getting to a game. I was already on a team. Football, I was really heavy when I was in school, so I wasn't that fast. We used to play on the street, but baseball was the one that I probably enjoyed the most. And I couldn't play hockey and I couldn't skate, so I didn't even try to skate. But I guess baseball I enjoyed most, although I played all of them. And I was terrific in all of them.
There we go.
You ever get tired of being? Are there any times when you're like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the Howard thing. I want to just be like a regular guy.
Actually, I'm just doing that to bust your chops.
No, of course. But if are there times when you're like, I can't. I just gotta just sit here and I like recharge. Like, how do you recharge without busting chops?
I recharge. I mean, it's just. But you can't ever turn off people. Somebody sees you and wants to talk to you nowadays. A guy wants to shake your hand like a kid on the block, and I think he's a little challenged. I don't know what it is that he has, but the neighbors, they wave to me and whatever. I'm walking up the block. Kid comes out and wants to take a picture. I said, I can't do a selfie, but I'll stand behind you. So you're just nice to people. But I'm nice to people when I see them, unless they're jerks. And then I'll say what I really think. But no, I'm just doing it to bust. I don't do that all the time. I mean, it's just when I see a person, if he asks me a question, I'll give him an honest answer. But I won't go crazy. No, I just do what I do. But it's kind of interesting. When I played any sport, I played the part that people didn't want to play. In basketball, I was more efficient at passing the basketball, trying to play defense. In baseball, I really enjoyed playing defense, whether I played third base or first base. And then I really could throw hard when I was young. It was all over the place, but I could throw hard. Yeah. And then football, I had a good arm. I forget who I was talking to actually yesterday. And Steve Carlton was talking about his workouts with Gus Heffling.
Yeah.
I was in those workouts. The guys back when there wasn't social media, the guys weren't afraid of you. I was friends with, Schmidt, Gary Maddox was in there. Pete Rose came a few times. Carlton didn't play football. I exercised. I worked out with them. I knew about the rice pit and all that. But then we used to go out and play football. And I was the quarterback for one of the teams because I had a strong arm. And those guys were so fast. There was no way I could even think about covering any of those guys. So I was the one and I had a pretty good arm. So we used to go out and play football. But those are the things that, quarterback was the only thing of a main thing. Otherwise, I just like to play defense. It was different like that.
I'm sure, weren't you? Because I remember being there. So you used to work out with Croce. That was Pat Croce's first thing.
That was in Broomall. Right?
That was in Broomall. I remember being there when did you work out with Sean Bradley? Because I remember Sean Bradley being there. Did he work out with Croce or no?
They tried to. Was Croce? What year was the Flyers went to Edmonton? This is how I remember it. Went to Edmonton in '87, right? So they went in '87. When was Sean Bradley there? Was he there before that?
No, he wasn't before '87.
Okay, then. But I never worked out with Sean Bradley.
Okay.
They sent some guys out. They sent Roy Hinson. Remember Roy Hinson?
Yes, of course.
Forward/center. So he came out because they wanted him to work harder. The reason Croce got hired is because Moses got a little lazy, gained some weight, and they talked to me about. I got Croce the job because they asked me about working out with him and whether they thought it'd be good. So in Edmonton, the reason I remember this is Croce came up to me. He says, "You know who called me?" I said, "Yeah, the Sixers." "How'd you know?" So, and they called him to offer him a job as their conditioning guy.
Right.
Because I said, he works you hard. Yeah, I forget who he had a fight with. He had a fight with the guy. Wouldn't work out. He would fight. He'd punch him and do all kinds of things and do whatever he wanted to do. It was crazy, but it was good. It was close to here, but the Phillies thing was earlier than that. And then Gus Heffling at one point had left, but it was just a way to kind of hang out because I was friends with all the guys, so they didn't worry about it.
We were talking. You mentioned Croce. Sorry, you mentioned Croce. We were talking a lot about the Sixers owners.
Oh boy!
And how these guys who don't live in the city, who helicopter in, just buying rival teams of different sports.
Yeah,
he's a carpetbagger.
What makes a good owner? If you could create the best Sixers owner, what kind of like traits do you want for that guy?
A person that will spend whatever he can. Now in basketball, there's a cap, but that doesn't mean you can't spend. It's like in baseball. You have a salary tax, but they spend so much on the minor leagues to develop, which the Phillies for years didn't do. Now John Middleton's doing it. But somebody that would spend what it takes, that doesn't mean you're going to win, wouldn't interfere and let the people that he hires do the job. And if they can't do the job, then you just move on and you get somebody else. But in the case of the Sixers, if we're dealing with that, Ed Snyder, Croce made no decisions. I mean, Croce was a figurehead. He put the sale together of the Flyers and the Sixers for Comcast, and part of the agreement is a sale. He would be named, I guess, the president, and get paid whatever he got paid, but he made no decisions. The personnel decisions were made by, it eventually became Larry Brown and Billy King. And then the money and financial decisions were Ed Snyder, who oversaw the whole umbrella of everything. And Ed Snyder would say, do what you have to. Whatever you have to do, I don't care what it costs, and do it. And he was good like that. And he wouldn't interfere with basketball. He may have interfered with hockey because he really knew the hockey. But he didn't interfere with basketball. So you got to get a guy that wants to spend the money, doesn't want to raise tickets every year, as the Sixers do, and doesn't care about his bottom line, but cares about winning a championship. The question I always have for Josh Harris, and I think Blitzer's different, and it's sad for the Sixers fans and you guys, that Blitzer wasn't able to do what the original deal called for. The managing partner would switch after it was 4 or 5 years.
Every other year, right?
Yeah, but because he works for a company called Blackstone in New York, he says, if you leave the city, you can't work for us. And he couldn't do it. That's why he runs the Devils. So he would have been better. He's a basketball guy who wanted to do the right things. And Josh Harris is just a bottom feeder. That's why he's trying to get the Mets. That's how he got the Premier League. Teams that have bargained. That's how he got the Devils. He wasn't supposed to get the Devils, but that owner, and I know the guy who was supposed to get it because he lent him a lot of money, who now owns the Coyotes in Phoenix. But he's just trying to get the best. And Spectacor wanted to get rid of the Sixers, and that's how he got that. He doesn't care about winning. If it comes down to, what would you rather do? Make more money or win a championship? And he can tell you what he wants. He wants to make more money. And that is the issue. And that's the problem.
Well, don't worry.
What I think an owner should do.
We can't stand them either. So we have a
Scott
we're on the
O'Neill
same
is
page.
Right up there. He's the one that tried to cut the salaries.
Yeah, we've talked about him. We've talked about him a lot too. We talked about him.
Doctor. He's such a fraud. He's a total fraud.
All right. Final question.
I like weaponizing Howard for our own personal.
What we need. Yep. See, now you're learning. All right. Final question. Being that it is Father's Day, and you mentioned that your father used to get on the refs, and I remember,
I loved it.
Yeah, loved it. Right. And I remember my Pop-Up Don, which was dad, my father's father, would sit right behind the plate at right on the left at Veterans Stadium too.
Right over the first row over the visitors' dugout.
And it would just fucking kick the wall the whole game and get on every ump's ass about it. And then in his later years, when he was living in Florida, he would go to every Clearwater game and watch all the minor leagues, all that. What about your dad do you think put you in position to end up doing what you do? Like what about him did you take, and what was it that that made you you in
I'll give you a backstory about the officials of baseball. Shag Crawford, who was an umpire, the father of Jerry and Joey, was behind the plate one game, and we all used to leave in the same exit. There was a walkway past security at the vet, near where the seats were, and somehow we were there when Shag was done and dressed and leaving, and he recognized my father, and they almost had a fight right there because Shag in the off season worked for an oil company and drove an oil truck because they didn't make as much money. Yep. So he got on him during the game about, you should be out there driving the oil truck right now rather than be behind the plate. So I would get on the players. Rick Mundy climbed the dugout and started coming after me one game because I was all over him. When it was easy, when Carlton pitched, left-handed hitters could not hit him. It was pathetic. They looked so bad. So I got on Rick Mundy, and finally, sometime during the game, he started climbing up the dugout to come after me. But what did he do? Well, obviously, he took me to the games, which wasn't a big part of it. But, you kind of understand it along the way. But one thing that I'll always remember, the Eagles played in Tampa. And at the time, he had dementia, but he was still at home. He wasn't under assisted care at that time. And we stayed at the hotel right outside of Tampa, coming up the causeway towards Clearwater. And one of my sisters drove him over, and we sat down and we talked. It was a chance to see him because I came down there, and, it was a Saturday before the game. And he said he wanted to feel good about getting me so interested in sports. And he played a lot. He had a softball team. He played basketball just in pickup. He would bowl, and he would just do a lot of different things. And he got me interested in sports, which, I guess I would have been interested anyway. But nonetheless, he was the guy. He was very, very with season tickets for the Sixers, for the Phillies. He didn't like Leonard Toast, so he never got him for the Eagles because he was in kind of that same business, and he knew Leonard Toast was a terrible businessman. But in hockey wasn't our thing. But he said to me, he says, I was because I helped you get interested in sports, and he didn't say it the way I'm just trying to. It's hard to remember how he said it. That I'm glad that I got you interested in sports, and that was a big help in what you're doing now in your career. So, I'm sure it was. So I'll never forget that time where he wanted to feel good that he was a big part of what I did and the success I had. And he was right. I mean, I was at all the sporting things and was interested and wanted to be a sportscaster and wanted to do all those things. So never thought I'd go into TV, and never knew that he was still alive when I went into TV. But it's just Jim O'Brien was a big part of that because I spun records for him at a top 40 station. But my father kind of, just got me really interested. I mean, I used to play every day with the things that kids don't do now: box ball and handball and stick ball and half ball and wire ball, all those things. That's what I did every day. We played football on the street. We did everything. But my father, your grandfather, was a big part of helping me get interested in sports. So I'll never forget that time that he sat there. I don't know how much he remembered after we left, but he did remember that. He could remember things from 40 years ago, but not 40 minutes ago when it really got worse. But no, there was a lot of people that I used to hang out there on Saturdays, and we used to go to the games and do a lot of things, whether it was the Phillies or whether it was the Sixers. That's when the Sixers didn't have a process.
Yeah, all right. One of the things that I remember best, and obviously him teaching you about sport or taking you to sports was important. I remember Eric. So Eric is my uncle, my dad's younger brother. And I remember him telling me once, he was like, hey, if you go up to D, and my grandfather's name was Donald, but everybody called him D. If you go up to D and ask him if he thinks the Phillies are going to be good this year, and he'll say, if he says yes, if you also say yes, then he'll just say no. And I always think of my dad when I think of that your dad was like kind of a contrarian, the same way that you are. Like I see you and him. So it's funny.
Yeah, he would always have an issue. We had issues, just like you and I had issues. We'd disagree on certain things, on certain players. But yeah, he when he sat at a game, he would just, whether it was a basketball or baseball game, we were close enough. It was great that we could yell at people. I got to be friendly with a lot of the officials because they saw me sitting there with them and they knew who I was, because I was on the air, whether it was radio or TV. I got to be friendly with a lot of the officials. I mean, Joey Crawford, I don't know if he knows the story about his father, and my father almost getting in a fight. But see Joey and Jerry was when they had a strike, we almost came to blows when they were picketing in front of the stadium. So, there was always that when it was an umpire or a player, I would get on the officials as well. It's just, it was just something that I learned how to do well because my father did it well. Yeah. So it's just, but he would take the opposite side. Not all the time. But it's some of the time. And he runs
in the family.
It definitely runs in the family. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is,
oh boy, here we go.
The father was always right.
Right.
Until the son thought he was right.
Well, happy Father's Day. I love you, and I thank you for giving me the ability to manage crazy people in my current job by being around you.
By the way, I will say this to you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the easiest person to manage at that. Well, I'm not the easiest person. I'm one of the easiest people to manage because I don't put up a fight because I don't want to fight with you over something. So if you tell me something, I listen to you, unlike some of the other people. There's only one person that really just doesn't.
No, I have a great working relationship with everybody I work with. Look, I'm going to be the longest running WIPPD in the history in a couple of years. So it's because nobody.
How long was Bigby there?
I think he was there 9 years, and I'm at like 6.5. So. Okay,
well. Bigby was the worst.
All right. We're not trashing Bigby. We got to go.
No, I don't know who was the worst, but whatever. No, it's just, but I'll never forget my father and what he did. And just, it was just, it was kind of cool. He took me, like I said, he took me to a lot of games, and I had a seat that a lot of people couldn't have. So that was a big part of it. So it was all good. So by the way, you may be the branding manager or whatever that your stinking title is, or program director, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You may be the boss of the hosts, but you're not my boss.
All right.
That's what I always tell him.
All right.
Thank you, Howard.
Okay.
Thank you
take care of the process.
Happy Father's Day.
Joke.
All right.
A joke, a farce. It sucks. It sucks.
All right.
I was just warming up. He's just getting into it.
I'll ask you one question before I leave.
Oh, Jesus
How much
Christ.
overweight do you think Joel Embiid will come? 2 questions. That'll be the first. How much overweight do you think he's going to come into?
I think you should take Joel on walks, and you should be taking 30,000 step walks with Joel.
Yeah, but he'd want to stop at Shake Shack, Burger King.
Oh, boy.
All right. And will Ben Simmons actually wear a shirt when he plays a game?
Doesn't need to.
Yeah.
That's a joke. What a fraud he is.
All right. Get out of here. Goodbye.
See you.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Fucking what a maniac.
Wow.
What a touching episode of The Rights to Ricky Sanchez.
That really is. It really paints a full picture. All
right. Well, I'll gonna go work on Casper Ware, and we got a couple other guests coming. Are you down with Happy Father's Day, everybody?
Happy Father's Day to everybody. Stay safe, everybody.
Yep.
Keep wearing masks.
Keep wearing masks. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, lick face.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you. If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
Time for Plan B.